um, hopefully be able to experience this with us. All right. Oh, sorry about that. Today we have three speakers, Bishop Harada, Darlene Bagshaw, and myself. I am the Director of Development at the BCA Endowment Foundation, and we're talking about cultivating a culture of philanthropy grounded in gratitude, humility, and interdependence. So, first, I wanted to just start with our speakers here today were instrumental in the success of the Dharma Forward campaign. The campaign exceeded its goal and raised nearly 4 million for BCA needs. This infusion not only creates sustainability for the BCA and the IBS, but also reinforces a sense of forward momentum. And through the campaign, we were able to initiate dynamic organizational improvements, such as the creation of the Dharma Forward Allocation Board, which evaluates the proposals of the applications from BCA committees in the areas of ministerial, technology, education, outreach, facilities, and operations. This group is also managing and tracking programmatic finances for these projects and ensuring that funds are judiciously being used. A culmination of a campaign like this gives us a chance to reflect. And we'll do that in an upcoming survey. So I'm hopeful that all of you will participate in that survey when it comes out. You've also heard this morning that the BCA is contemplating a shift in the financial model. And if this goes through, that this will increase the reliance on fundraising efforts. And so how do we prepare for this? We do have learnings from our campaign, and maybe they will be helpful to the temples and to BCA committees, and I wanted to share today how we at the BCA Endowment Foundation are thinking about Dana. I do have a caveat that we do have the Dana Program Fund. It's the name of the BCA's annual needs program. So I don't want people to get confused with a particular fund for today. Today, we're going to be talking about Dana in this session as the Buddhist meaning of selfless giving. And with that in mind, today's agenda, we're going to contextualize Dana as a responsive expression of gratitude. It's natural for us to be timid about money, but we want to express how grateful we are for this opportunity. And who better to explain the Shin Buddhist understanding of Dana in his 6th year as the Bishop of the Buddhist Churches of America, hailing from the great and happiest place on earth of Anaheim, California. We have Bishop Marvin Harada. Sensei?
Thank you very much, Michiko. Well, all of our churches and temples and our entire BCA is really built on the spirit of dana or giving from its very beginnings. And really, the whole Buddhist tradition is based on that as well. From Shakyamuni Buddha's earliest years, he went around the area of India and provided opportunities for people to make offerings to himself and to his followers, and that's how they practice dana or giving. We couldn't have built any of our churches or temples without the generous spirit of giving by our pioneering members, and subsequently generations have continued that. I just never forget a story that one of our former members at Orange County's, the late Richard and Sachi Ochai, Sachi was telling me when OCBC was first built, even before it was built, the Reverend Hirata, the founding minister, and Bill Wada, the president of the temple at that time, went to all the different Sangha members. They were just a Sangha, they were just a branch of LA Betsuin, getting pledges because they wanted to build an independent church here in Orange County. And they came to the Ochai's home. Richard and Sachi were in the beginning years of starting their nursery business. So it's not like they were affluent people at that time. So after at that meeting, Richard Ochai pledged more money than they even had in the bank. Who does that nowadays? And she didn't say anything in front of Reverend Hirata, but after Reverend Hirata and Bill Wada left, she said, Richard, we don't even have that much money in the bank, and you pledge that much? But Richard goes, but we're going to build a church. See, we're going to build a temple. And it was that important to him. And so they managed, they donated tremendously. They also started their nursery business. So that kind of spirit of generosity, of giving, is what all of our churches and temples are built on. And I know there's stories of cases like that in every local temple. So in the six paramitas, the first is dana or giving. And one of the forms of giving is called pure giving, where you give without any attachment to yourself as the donor, without uh, expecting something in return, not even a thank you card. That's pure giving. I can honestly say that I've never practiced pure giving myself, but I've been the recipient of pure giving. When my wife and I were in Japan and I was studying Buddhism, we lived in a small apartment building, and one day someone went to our landlady and said, "You have a young man in your apartment building. He's studying Buddhism. He's going to become a minister in America. I want to help him." And the landlady says, "Oh, what do you mean?" He said, "Well, I'm going to pay for some rent." And she thought he was going to pay for 1 month's rent. This individual paid for 6 months of our rent, but told the landlady, "You must promise me that you'll never disclose my identity." To this day, I don't know who did it. I don't know if it was a man or a woman. I tried to get it out of our landlady. Was it this tall older man? I thought it was one of my teachers at school or something. She would not tell me. I have no way to write a thank you card. The only thing I can do to pay back that generous donor is to do what they asked, what they dreamed, that I would share the Dharma as a minister here in the United States. So that kind of selfless giving we have within our sanghas as well. Sometimes it's not monetary, sometimes it's the service that people give to the temple. I mean, I've been at OCBC when there's one of our volunteers, he's cleaning the bathrooms. Nobody's around, he's cleaning the bathrooms. And I think, gee, if I do something like that, I want to do it when people are around so they could go, "Hey, Reverend Marv's over there cleaning the bathrooms." Another case of giving that I like to share is when Reverend John Turner, when he just started out as a member. He wasn't a minister's assistant yet. He's just starting to come, maybe in his first year. One of our devout members, the late Berta Hamada, gave him the 2-volume collected works of Shinran set. It's like $40 or $50 for these two books. She gave it to him. She said, "Someday you're going to need these." And of course, he went on to become a minister. He's now the resident minister at Orange County. But that kind of giving, see, uh, that's sort of the foundation of all of our churches and temples, and we have to continue that culture of philanthropy, that culture of giving that's based on our Jōdo Shinshū spirit of humbleness, humility, based on gratitude for the teachings. That's why people give, because they very much deeply appreciate the teachings. They want the teachings to be transmitted, and they have a sense of connection, not just with the members, but sort of the entire world and humanity. So that's sort of the background on giving that I think is something that we have to continue in all of our churches and temples, especially with younger generations and with newcomers that come to our temple, to nurture them, to be a part of this spirit of philanthropy, to give what they can, and to give by serving, supporting the temple, being a volunteer, being a committee member, an officer, and then we'll truly grow, and the Dharma will be moving forward. Thank you.
Thank you, Sensei. Can I ask you a question,
Sure.
Sensei, about the BCA's role in all of that?
BCA's role in all of that. Well, I think we need to impart to the regular BCA member that yes, you it takes your generosity to support the local temple, but when you support the local temple, you're supporting the BCA. The BCA supports the local temple, and it all works together. Some people donate directly to the BCA, but they donate to their temple, which also supports our BCA and IBS as well. So I think we just need to keep communicating that their giving supports uh, the entire temple and Sangha and BCA.
Thank you. Yeah, Shin Buddhism was founded in Japan nearly 800 years ago. The founder of our tradition, Shinran Shonin, wanted to make the heart of the Buddhist path accessible to
Mhm,
anyone.
mhm,
And in 1899, two ministers traveled from Japan to San Francisco and arrived in response to Japanese immigrants who had asked to hear the Dharma in their new home. And they had also held regular Dharma talks in English to introduce the broader American public to Shin Buddhism. And temples were built around California and then farther out as well, of course, in those first decades by the power of the Sangha. Right? They would start with holwakais, small gatherings in someone's home, and start building campaigns, often mortgaging their own homes, as Reverend Marv said, and to build a temple of their own for themselves and for the community. So I'm really just floored with all of that longevity and perseverance that our founders exhibited. And in regards to ministers and say, like, what is the general ministerial pathway? And how does BCA in particular support that ministerial growth?
mhm. Well, some 25 years ago, we started the Minister's Assistant Program, which started out as a way to help the ministers because we had this huge shortage of ministers. But we found that this Minister's Assistant Program was not something that just helped the ministers that we had. It was like a pathway. We had created a pathway, a stepping stone for some people to go to the next level and maybe even become a full-fledged kaikyoshi someday. And we've seen that to be true. Several of our present kaikyoshi all started out as minister's assistants. So you start out as a minister's assistant, you get practical training at the local level, and then maybe take the Jōdo Shinshū correspondence course. And then from that, if you want to get ordination, you have to go to IBS and study at IBS. And if you want Kyoshi, you have to complete your studies at IBS. If you want to be a Kai Kyoshi, then you have to graduate from IBS. So there's all these various levels where a person can they could stop at any point, but they could also go on to becoming a full-fledged Kaikyoshi. And then that also involves Tokudo ordination and then Kyoshi certification.
Well, we're really happy that BCA is able to manage all of that and to make sure that we have a pathway for our ministers to walk along with us. And we also have, of course, lay leaders as part of our system here. And I wanted to take an opportunity to thank Reverend Marv and introduce Darlene, who is a Stockton Buddhist Temple's president, as well as the BCA's secretary for many, many years. And I'm part of the executive team. And she's going to talk to us a little bit about the lived experience and shared responsibility of the Dharma. Thank you, Darlene.
Just a correction, I'm no longer
Oh,
president.
sorry.
Now I'm working on vice president of membership. So if you went to town hall, Terry and I were chatting in the background sometimes. So we'll tie it all together. So in what Reverend Marv said, I really love how you incorporate practice, dana, and gratitude. And by the way, we really appreciate all those thank you letters you write. So I think you've more than made up for the one that you couldn't write. So thank you very much for that. So, as a Dharma school teacher as well, even our youngest Sangha members can learn these concepts, find examples in everyday life and begin the practice of dana and gratitude until it really becomes second nature for gratitude for all people and items associated with an act or a product. This begins with something as simple as saying itadakimasu at the beginning of each meal. And as we grow older, gochiso-sama is followed by our contribution of clearing the table and helping with dishes as our act of dana to support our parents. As adults, our perspective changes and we can become complacent in thinking about the gratitude behind our acts of dana. This becomes quite evident as we are besieged with requests by mail or on the TV asking for donations for various causes. We can become numb to the why behind the ask and start thinking, "Oh, another ask, or what do they want now?" Next slide, please. When I first became involved at the BCA level back in 2020, I honestly did not have an appreciation for all that our BCA programs support. My first encounter was with the Social Welfare Committee, where I actually admitted in a Wheel of Dharma article, I used to throw the letter away. It was not because I didn't care, but rather that I didn't understand what this committee does. Thus, I could not have a sense of gratitude with the impact of my donations. We all see human suffering in our own towns, the homeless, the unemployed, the orphaned, the hungry. Until I started on social welfare, I didn't realize how hard this committee works at Donna. Their actions are truly selfless, as there is no benefit for the Social Welfare Committee, only compassion for our communities and our country and our world. My cousin on the East Coast even called me and said, I used to give, but I stopped because I never knew where the money went. But after reading the article and having a talk, she decided there is a compassionate purpose. She's grateful that she has the means to support others and started donating again. Next slide, please. The next question from my experience in my BCA journey is, how can I better communicate with this Dana stemming from our sense of gratitude to our BCA members and communities? How do we spread this feeling to our Sanghas? Because this journey is not just my journey, not just my cousin's journey, it's our journey as the Sangha of the BCA. We are the benefactors of so many BCA products. One such product is a minister. Please note, I'm not minimalizing their value, but want to take a look at the effort behind having a minister at your temple. Again, I was not knowledgeable in this until I became active at the BCA level, and this should be shared with everyone. Becoming a minister is not just a diploma. As Reverend Marv indicated, they have to graduate. This is true, but it's not just about the diploma. First, they train for Tokudo ordination and travel to Japan for testing. Then Kyoshi certification. Again, more training and testing. Then 1 year under the supervision of a Kaikyoshi minister, and many years of dedicated effort. As you can see, becoming a minister does not come out of a vending machine. They can't push a button and magically get the status of Kaikyoshi, and we can't push buttons to get a minister at our temple. These are greatly dedicated people, folks who truly believe in the teachings and want to share their spiritual journey with us to help make our lives better. But like any college education or trade school instruction, it takes money to make this happen. I don't believe any temple can pay their minister CEO wages, even if we really want to. It's just not feasible. Thus, the Dharma Forward campaign donations have supported scholarship through our student financial aid program. Funds travel for Tokudo and Kyoshi to come to the JSC for training. That's from Dharma Forward direct allocations. Their robes needed to practice what they have learned under the Kodomo Fund, and continuing education once they reach that final goal of Kaikyoshi. This has also been supported by Dharma Forward, as well as many other endowment foundation funds. This is their journey to become our minister. I have trouble remembering Jusei Gei, let alone Amida Kyo. I attended an Ojo Raisan session at the Northwest Conference, and I was utterly lost. I am so grateful the minister is the one leading the chanting. This is just one journey where I hope you can visualize the gratitude behind the product or program. How vibrant would our Sangha be without a minister help guide us through all the teachings? From this type of understanding, Dana takes an entirely new meaning. With this level of transparency, we build the why and the trust behind the Dana of dollars. As temple leaders, we rely upon you to help our Sanghas join the journey, understand the meaning and gratitude behind the Dana to support our BCA platforms. I have often heard the Sangha members say, Someone else will give. I don't need to. Or they have enough money. Why do I have to give them more of mine? That's my mother speaking. If we all look sideways when asked to provide dana, whether it's volunteer hours or donations, let's look at what an Obon bazaar would be like. Standing in line for tempura when no one is cooking, coming for entertainment, but no one to run the program, coming to the odori without music and teachers to lead us through every dance. Pretty blank canvas, right? As I begin to retire, my mind constantly asks, do I have enough money in retirement to retire? Will I be able to support all that needs supporting? I say yes today. Market's good, but not because I have a huge nest egg, but rather knowing that dana is whatever I can give, whenever I can give, and wherever I choose to support. Again, before I reached this level of involvement, I wondered if someone was keeping track of what I was giving. Other than tracking my pledge to make sure that I'm on target, this is not true. Although we may acknowledge those who are donors, we do not have any less gratitude for those who gave large versus lesser amounts or just what they could afford. Just like the osaisen basket, no one is watching to see where the quarter or the $20 came from. So it is all put together and appreciated as a gift of Sangha, our pure gift of dana, and our symbol of gratitude for all that is done to help share the Shin Buddhist teachings of wisdom and compassion to enable all to live a meaningful and fulfilled life of gratitude. And this goes back to our BCA mission and vision. So I asked Michiko now to perhaps help explain more about the insight of the culture of philanthropy.
Thanks, Darlene. You heard from Reverend Marv, seeing the teachings taking over better judgment and pledging more than one family had, how the prospect of a new minister in Reverend Turner gave Mrs. Hamada cause to act in support, how the kindness of an anonymous donor can even make our bishop try his best in all that he does decades later, and for Darlene, how easy it is to toss aside a letter that people worked pretty hard on to put together if they aren't aware of the value. And I would like to think that about what investments we are making when we show up at church and what this does for our kids and our grandkids as they learn about resilience in life. So giving is not just about capacity, as you heard, it's about relationship building. And what is relationship building in fundraising context, right? It is not extraction. We are not trying to squeeze everything out of anyone. It is an invitation to share. It's a way to serve more people by creating the opportunity afforded to us. And we base this on our Shin Buddhist values. Our values and teachings of wisdom and compassion speak pretty loudly. We are pretty transparent in our practice, right? We tell you how it is. Sometimes it sounds kind of stark, like life is suffering, but isn't it true? We don't make flowery assumptions of what people should do. We invite people to participate because their heart is really in it. And we are consistent because we aren't chasing the latest fad or the TikTok challenge. Our teachings have existed for over 850 years. And what's more consistent than that, right? It means that you can rely on it. And in some ways, that means it will survive in some form beyond us. But the vigor of our connections is also an important factor in our transmission. Therefore, our relationships are really top of mind. And we treat everyone with the same level of respect you'd probably treat your family, the nice ones. So the question often is, what do we offer as BCA? And we like to really come back to this, right? We connect, we grow, and we preserve. So where else do we make this amount of teriyaki chicken? But have you seen us work? The magic is actually in that collective beehive. And I venture to guess that if this is probably 99.9% of how the temples operate when we have a goal in mind. It's not just festival where this happens. Connection is practiced action or shared experience. So you heard in the town hall this morning, we have the power to bring people closer to the Dharma. The teachings are free, but the temples are needing of resources. And so this is where we all put this together. And the third, keeping the teachings alive and well. Teachings can get diluted, they can change in context, they can be forgotten, they can be strengthened. And so we mitigate this, the lost part, with collective memory, with combined efforts and thinking, and collective efforts on the resource side as well. Have you noticed that sometimes we need 3 or 4 bachans or grandmas, right, to tell the full story of how something has worked? And this is kind of the same in our fundraising context as well. It's easy to forget that the water coming out of the faucet has infrastructure and decades of engineering behind it, but we can create connections and access to such things with things like the benefits page that you learned about this morning. So please check it out, and another plug to please share it with your temples. I thought I would conclude with a bit of practical advice. Endo that we talk about, or restraint, can really make sense in certain circumstances. And I think, you know, for a long part of our history, that was that was the way we identified. But if your goal is to increase engagement and therefore fundraising, it can be a challenge. And sometimes we hear people say things like, we can't ask them. They only came to scouts here. They don't really want to know about Buddhism. They do so much for everyone else in the community, right? They already gave so much to the museum down the street. Ooh, it's cringy to talk about the appreciation of my appreciation of Buddhism. I'll just say that I'm just grateful because I'm so lucky, right? If we want engagement, we need communication, and to communicate, we need to work on what's being heard, not just how we are saying it. So here are a few things we've learned throughout the campaign. We track for accuracy out of respect for the gift. So for their intention, we are tracking the gifts and hopefully reiterating to them how important the gift was to us. We're actively listening with intention. Terry talked about this morning too. Intention is really important. How can the feedback be implemented? You don't necessarily have to do it, right? Because there are many, many ideas out there. But what would it look like if you explored that opportunity? And then your finances tell a story. So tell it. If you can check out this QR code, this is how our new platform has kind of, we've put together the way that the listings are coming up. We used to talk about it directed with the funds first, right? But I think when people come to our website or come to BCA, they're really not understanding of those particular funds. They need to know, how can I generally support you? In what areas can I get a minister to help? Like, how can I help a minister, right? Their vernacular or their language is different. So we are trying to make our moves towards grouping those heart intentions, and you'll find some of that movement in our QGive platform. This is our new Bloomerang platform that we just moved to a couple of weeks ago. So thank you for your patience as we make that move and learn about it ourselves. And just a little plug here too, if you had a Kindful account in the past, your account is still there, your profile is all still there, but you will need to re-sign into Bloomerang to get a new login. Okay, so coming back, and that's that QR code. Using the technology to help us and not to replace us. I think it can help us become more efficient, but it cannot do what we as people can do. And I think that in-person part is really a valuable and immeasurable activity that we need to continue doing. So communication, growing relationships, remembering the past, and looking forward, we are trying to carry funds responsibly across generations. Another way we do this is with planned giving. And families now, it's a great way for us to plan for the future beyond yourself. There are financial tools that will actually help you take care of yourself and your family now, and then give it when you no longer need it. And these are gifts that the donor sets up with their attorney. And the temple is the recipient of these gifts as well, right? So if we have these conversations, we can ask folks to just kind of think about that. Think about what a planned gift might do for them beyond their lifetime, and perhaps a percentage of their remainders can be given to the temple and maybe even to the BCA. All right, so I am happy to explore any of those opportunities with folks in temples as well. And so please don't hesitate to connect with me. I'm always looking forward to learning more about the temple operations and how giving is different at different places and how the BCA message can be better articulated and put in the right places for our opportunities to flourish and grow. Again, this morning we're talking about and so that is a really important, I think, vocabulary word for us as we move forward in how we would like the BCA and the temples and the donor opportunities to present and be thanked in the future. So we really want to thank you for participating with us today. We do have an opportunity for questions if are any. Otherwise, the next section is going to be at 2:15, and they're going to be talking about the budget. So going more into detail about that, the finance story that we were talking about there.
So one thing though, too, if you folks are planning on gifting from the planned giving platform or even your required minimum distribution, and it is coming directly to the BCEF, please let Michiko know so that way, or Hida, I saw Hida on the call, or Hitomi, because it allows them to better track it. Otherwise, if it comes in and it's not marked, we have no idea where it came from. So your communication with Michiko, Hitomi, and Hida is very valuable. But every donation is appreciated, no matter how large or how small.
Great. Thank you very much, Darlene. Are there any other questions? I also wanted to plug the third session of this track as well. He is here with us. It's the Endowment Foundation track in regards to investments, but also custodial accounts, which is very valuable and beneficial to all temple sizes, but I think particularly, right, those medium and small size temples who find themselves with a little bit of cash to invest and will have the opportunity to get a much larger return on their investment, hopefully. Right.
Could I make a comment, please?
Yes, yes.
I'm Roy Akune. I'm the MA with Shin Buddhist Temple here in Canada. And I've been an MA since 1999. I had the opportunity of going to Japan at that time. I think it was the first time that they had an international Tokudo training program, and I was the recipient of that at that time. Listening to the conversation and to your articulation, we talk about giving, but we don't talk about receiving. The giving that we give, whatever it may be, monetary or service or whatever it may be, if you look at it in terms of I'm receiving something as well, it really does bring about a satisfaction. This receiving could be articulated this way, that you receive the happiness, you see the support, you see the giving of others. And that to me is receiving. I'm receiving a personal gift as well. When I see the others doing it, gives me happiness, gives me feeling of oneness. And hence, if we look at it that way, it's a two-way street. I think that makes life that much more happier for everybody. Give. And I learned this from my father, who mortgaged 2 years of his life earnings to build the Shin Buddhist Temple, 1960. And hence, I guess you know what it is? I'm also a learner from others who have given. And I can cite many, many other situations or people that have given. And they don't give it because I want to be known for that. Give it from the heart. I think that's what's important. It's passion. And we need to do that more and more. Thank you very much.
No, thank you so much, Roy. That's exactly exactly. Thank you so much. I really love that articulation of it. It is generosity because we have been given so much, and that ajiwai, the appreciation for all that we have been given, um, is such a momentous and different way of how we look at the opportunities of that we can do as part of the fundraising effort. So this cultural philanthropy, I know that it is a much more in the mainstream vernacular, it is right a competition in some ways, and we don't really look at it that way at all. And our appreciation is really because the Dharma has been given to us. So thank you for that. Yes,
Thank you.
Ricky.
So I have a question, and I would love to hear comments from anybody who's got a thought on this. And the category is be careful what you wish for 1,000. So I'm from Vista Buddhist Temple. You heard from Terry that we work pretty hard on bringing new people in and have created some degree of success in terms of growth. And I find that many of our new members are not uh, they're not traditional Buddhists, and they probably don't have, in most cases, they're not Japanese, or they don't have that culture. They don't bring that awareness and culture to the temple. And how do you build with people that don't have that culture and awareness for generations? How do you build the culture of Dana? How do you explain to them, that selfless giving that, and Dana comes in is from a financial standpoint, it comes at festival time, volunteering. And as we move forward, we know that more and more of our temple as a percentage of our Sangha are going to be relatively new people without that generations of background. So how do you build a culture of Dharma with those folks?
Yeah, I think that is a really great question. Darlene, did you want to take that first or?
Well, that for me, and it's more specifically on the BCA level, is that I didn't give in the beginning because I didn't understand what happened and where the money went, and so couldn't have the appreciation to give, selflessly give, because there I didn't know. That's why one of the things that I really am working really hard on with Michiko and with Glenn and Steve is to try to provide better communication down to the temple levels. That's why in my portion, I really feel that everybody on this call, whether you're the president of the temple or somebody that's just interested, you are our key to creating that feeling of dana, selfless giving, and gratitude behind it. So like Roy said, you get both ends. You're it's not just the giving, but you understand what's being received back to you. And until we can create that, I think it's a difficult ask to ask people just to, hey, we could use your manpower for 8 hours on this 107-degree day, or to say, we need you to donate, donate, donate. So I think we have to be transparent and communicate that transparency so that people understand the giving and the receiving of it. So go ahead, Michiko.
Yeah, I think I would exactly as Darlene said, and I think I would also just to add that that they don't mean to not know. I think right that it is part of our job and our duty to sort of explain what does Ode mean, why how does the temple operate, right? And again, that difference between knowing the teachings and sharing the teachings, between running a temple, and how much of a business it really has to be in order for our doors to stay open. So I think, yeah, over time, hopefully people will be able to appreciate that. And it's not just like the non or the new people that are coming in, right? Like even my generation of folks, our parents always paid. Our parents always did the ore. So we don't really have that in our sort of daily routine as well. And so, our osaisen remains at $1. Okay, that was like from I don't know how long ago. But a cup of coffee is now $5. So we need to help folks along with that understanding of the practicality of things. And I hope that over time, the teachings, they just want to protect it, right? They start to want to protect what they have, what they've been given. And then that pull from the 2-hour festival shift becomes, a board position, and the board position becomes a BCA committee position, and we start to engage them on a much deeper level.
May I
And
make a
one,
comment, please?
oh yeah, and let,
Sorry, may I make a comment?
yes.
Yep. We often articulate very well, but do we act as well? And I think that many people look at it this way, that I can talk about it, but we haven't shown the action. And I think that the two go together very, very much. Dharma becomes a part of all of you. And through the action, that Dharma is displayed. And so to me, I've seen people, they don't talk about the Dharma in terms of a doctrine or a teaching. They talk about it, quotes, through their action, their behavior. And you can watch them. They're doing it very silently, they're doing it very calmly, but they're very, very giving. And I think that is what's important. It's like a person says, well, gee, this is what I've done. I don't think you have to say that. It's already there. And I think that, yes, it takes time. But I think people who are very sensitive, they see this. And so to me, action goes along with words as well. Thank you.
Thank you, Roy. Yeah, I think that is kind of like what Ricky's talking about too, right? The question of how do we get people to watch those people more closely? It is happening all around us. And when we have the realization of, oh, that person, why are they so happy? Or why are they so resilient? If you watch them, we will be able to see the exact thing that you were just talking about, Roy. And how do we get new people to see that? I think we do need to take into account that it takes time. And somehow be patient. I know it's really hard in
There's
this,
no
like,
question.
gotta have it yesterday world, but yeah,
No, it does take time. This is where I think, window shopping for a particular religion, that's it's almost on the surface. We have to get below that surface. That's where it counts.
yes.
Another thing too that I think we have to be cognizant of with newcomers coming in that have not are not born into it, all the terms we use, osaisen, ore, those are all foreign terms. And somebody doesn't realize, why is there a basket that people are putting money in? And I was corrected in the chat. It's no longer a quarter. Yeah, that was to get you a laugh. If you've been here as long as I have, and it was a quarter once upon a time, it was full of coins. But it's we have to be aware and explain this. And I know in Stockton, the committee, their committee is working on making sure that we try to get away from that or use it in contexts where we explain it. Even offering incense, is something also that oshoko, somebody that just comes in, they're not going to have a clue what we're talking about. So if we want them to feel comfortable and inclusive and really learn and be able to get to that point, like Roy is saying and Ricky's saying, I think we have to be aware of where they're starting and make sure that we embrace from the very, very beginning, because those of us that grew up with it, it's just second nature. But it's not to somebody who's just coming in for the very, very first time. So I appreciate those ideas and concepts that I've heard along the way.
Yeah.
Thank
Thank you
you.
very much. Thank you, Ricky.
Thank
Thank you,
you.
Roy. Sensei, did you have anything else you wanted to add today?
Well, I think Ricky brought up a really important point, and I think one thing we heard in the town hall is that people mentioned that they were never pressured for anything. I mean, they were never pressured to join and pay their dues. I mean, they were invited, and so I think maybe that's a slower, like you say, it's a little bit slower process, but hopefully over time people learn how to give, learn how to donate, but we have to kind of what. Make the invitation or do what we can to educate a little bit too. This is how the temple operates. It operates because of your membership dues. It operates because of your generosity for donations, for funerals, memorials, special services. We need to kind of educate the new Sangha in that manner too. And I was really touched some years ago when we had the OCBC fundraisers for the big project to build a new social hall and remodel the Hondo. And this one relatively new member, single parent with 4 kids, and was a school teacher, donated a fairly sizable amount, and I personally went up to him and said, "Gee, thank you for your generous donation and pledge for the project." And he just said, "Well, you know, our whole family, they get a lot out of coming to OCBC, from Dharma school to youth activities, and it was worth it to him." So I think people, when they come to feel that way, they give quite easily.
Yeah, that's wonderful. I really do think of the temple atmosphere, and as a result, BCA as well. That kind of keeps all those temples running together, as an investment in my future, in my kids' future, and in my down the generations future, right? To be able to resolve your suffering through the teachings is something that you need exposure to. You don't just come up on it. And the temple is the best way for us to be able to continue transmitting that. We need the ministers to be able to do that. And so our ability to be able to connect with people and to explain those things through our own actions and through our abilities really does matter. And I appreciate all of you here today, not only to be listening, but for all of the work that you're doing in your temples as well, and to be really being mindful and thoughtful of all of the opportunities that we have and we see in the future sanghas.
If you didn't have time to ask your question, or you were a bit shy, I did put my email in the chat, dbagshaw@bcahq.org. Please reach out. It helps us know where to go and better direct things if we have input from the sanghas. So I really appreciate anything that you would like to share.
Yeah, please do. Darlene's the nice one, so you can hang out with her. All
Oh,
right.
Michiko's good too. She's at Inanaga at bcahq.org. So
Yes.
we're getting the wrap up sign. Shall we?
Okay, great. Well, thank you very much. Appreciate you all being here today. Bishop Parado, would you mind leading us in Gasho?
Kasha, please. Naman notes, naman notes, naman notes, naman notes, naman notes, naman notes, naman notes.